Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the BNI Partners in Excellence show. I'm Andy, and I'm so excited to have with me today Eddie Macias. Eddie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Andy.
I know we've known each other a long time. Actually, you were in BNI before me, so you actually predate me. There's a couple of you guys that predate me. You, Ray, Estelano, Miguel.
Miguel, obviously. Yeah.
Who else? Is there anyone else still in the room that was like the OG original guys?
No, I think that's it. I mean,
so you're having your 19th year in BNI now? Is that it? 2006, right?
2006 will be, well, 2007 will probably be the official 20 years. But
hey, remember we used to talk about those dates and they weren't so long ago?
Yeah. It wasn't, and it kind of corresponds with my my wedding anniversary too.
It does
by a few months.
Hey, when's your anniversary? No pressure, but pressure.
It's September.
No, he's looking up.
September 10th. 2006.
Okay, great. You knew it. All right.
And I think we started the big meeting where they invite everybody in December of 2006.
So it was that same year.
Yeah, and then I joined 2007, like a week later or whatever.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you here. We're going to talk about like personal and my personal connection with you and my business connection, of course, because of what you do. But I have to say something at the top of this. All of the attorneys in our group are so selective with their words. You know, Ray Estelano says allegedly. You say as such. I love it. We've kind of grown to have like these terms of endearment, but I don't have one. I'm kind of like, I don't feel left out, but I also haven't really like made myself. I haven't coined a term yet. What if I was going to coin a term? What do you think it would be?
Well, we'll figure it out. Right?
We'll figure
in this interview.
I don't say something consistent enough to.
That's
to
it.
Be there.
That's it.
Like, yeah, Andy, you can't hold that guy long enough to hold him down long enough to even get him to say something twice the same.
But the bad part about it is, if you can't get that specific term out, it throws the rest of it off. So, as you've seen.
So it's like your trip word.
Yeah, as you've seen sometimes in my 30-second.
Well, you do great. You have all these, almost nearly 2 decades coming up of experience. So I'm really excited to talk today because, we've been doing these interviews now for more than a quarter. We're coming up on like the half-year mark already of when we launched the Partners of Excellence show. And as you've heard me say with everybody, this has just been so much fun for me. And even though I've known a handful of you guys such a long time, I still hear new stories or I hear new things I'd never known about. And so there's a couple things that I know you've shared with the chapter. Maybe some of our newer members don't know. There's some things you've shared with me that maybe other people might not know. So I'm hoping to talk about some of those things today. Is that good?
Yeah, great.
I want to start off with, just the law practice though. So let's talk about your focus and your specialization in business law. I know that there's some other facets and some tentacles attached to that. So, tell us all about what you're doing in business law these days.
Sure. First off, I just want to make sure, have any of the attorneys actually brought a disclaimer?
No. So here's the thing. They didn't bring a disclaimer, number one. Number two, they didn't ask me to sign one, and they didn't recommend that I should have one.
Well, there we go. That's how an attorney starts his discussions.
So am I living on the edge too much?
No.
You're my business attorney, Eddie.
Yeah. But bottom line is, like I said, yeah, I did think about bringing my own little sign up, but since we won't be doing anything, let's just say to identify anybody or anything, I think we're good. But as far as the law practice, I mean, you do hear it every week. I mean, my same kind of spiel is, as such, I help all businesses with their operational document. Well, business startups and operational documents and in acquiring and disposing of their business assets. So that kind of covers the gamut of a business. The incorporations, LLCs, all the contracts that they need, and then when they want to sell or acquire and grow that way, their business. So that's the full gamut. I stay away from court litigation as much as possible. My go-to referral person in BNI is, the rest of the attorneys, but specifically Jason Turner for a lot of the civil stuff. And that's just from, doing a lot of litigation also the first couple of years that I did start. We were talking earlier, there was tons of depositions that I did. So back then, probably video and camera was not too, and I'm not talking about the Stone Ages. I'm talking about 1999, 2000 or so.
In technological terms, that does seem like an entire life ago, right?
Right.
We got these lights above your head, like like Mark Garza is going to bust through the door, like, where were you on Saturday, February 3rd or whatever? Have you ever been in a situation like that where like you really had someone like nailed on something when you were deposing somebody? You obviously can't say it, but have you been in that situation?
Yes.
Oh, what?
Or people crying,
Crying just because they got caught doing
not in
something,
an emotional stuff, not in the sense like they're busted, but like they got really emotional about a contract that they lost, etc.
Oh, wow.
Stuff like that.
You've talked about like partnerships for a long time and how difficult they are. Why don't you share some of what are the perils of wisdom, if you will, that at this point you've very eloquently and repeatedly said that to a lot of people. Why are you so like steadfast that partnerships are usually more challenging than they are worthwhile?
Very true for just about any sort of business. Like you and me want to join up and start a restaurant. The main thing is I could sign away something that'll make you liable. You could sign away something that'll make me liable, whether it's a loan or whatever. So the partnerships, basically in that sense, there's no limited liability. That's the basis of it. But there's other ways around that. You can be an LLC, I can be an LLC, and we can partner together, which there's some protection there. So, but in simple terms, when one person gets together with another person, as far as like, hey, let's go into business, you're a partnership. And there are a lot of ramifications that can come from that. So that's why sometimes it's better to be on your own, number one. Or if you are going to make a jump with someone else, you could go ahead and jump into an LLC or a corporation, and we can figure out all the documents to make it work and to hopefully figure out a way out if there are problems, which frequently there are down the line or at some point in time. Have some provisions in that will help you out, work it out.
Have like an amicable separation,
or work it out, or go to a third party that can sit you down and like something like this and
work it out, like in a civil way or like in the mob way.
We will no comment.
Wow, you stuttering right now really says something. That to me suggests it could be either one. Eddie, thanks a lot.
I've seen a lot of stuff happen.
I'm feeling a lot less confident in my next question.
I've seen a lot of stuff happen.
My gosh. Okay, well, I better quickly move on. Okay, so what I was going to actually ask you, follow up was like, are the problems and the challenges with partnerships more technicalities, or is it the personalities and the clashing, or is the clashing then expose the technicalities? Do they go hand in glove? Like, from your experience, how would you?
Well, you know what? The one thing I probably should have started with partnership is just like a marriage. Either it's going to work or it's not. And you're either going to put the effort in or not. So that's really what it is.
So in the instances where you've seen it work really well, why does it work really well? Because the follow-up question is going to be in the times when it falls apart, what fell apart? Is it the same as I know marriage is a great parallel, but So let's start with the instances where a partnership in business works well. What are the characteristics of that?
People have to know each other very well. They have to trust each other. Because I've seen people, like, they come to me and they say, hey, we're going to do this business, and my cousin's friend is also joining us. So now you got 3 people. Well, do you really know him? Yeah, maybe. Maybe he's got some capital, but you don't know him as far as how trustworthy he is. Maybe he's got other sorts of baggage. Who knows? Maybe there's certain things, like, for instance, something as simple as a restaurant and an A.P.C license. If you have any sort of criminal background, even maybe a DUI, a recent DUI, you cannot apply for an A.P.C license. So those types of things, if you don't know them, and obviously you jump into something without knowing all those facts and, a little bit more background or on their past, et cetera, then there's going to be issues. And it can be really quick, or it can be a year or two from down the line. And people change too, Everything can be hunky-dory for the first 2-3 years. And then something in someone's life, just takes a different path. And either they don't show up anymore and you're counting on them to show up, or they just, like I said, something clicks and they're just not that connection anymore.
So is the equivalent true that, so is the opposite true then, I guess, that if you're saying that it's really just how well you know the person, because you're talking about basically their whole person comes with the deal. Like any trouble that could come their way, any uncertainty or inconsistencies with them, they come with, it's a package deal.
Yeah, and this is true also for any sort of a joining together in business, a corporation, LLC. But what I'm saying is with the latter, the corporation and the LLC, there is documentation that you can put in place that kind of, like I said, will define what happens and what people can obligate you to within that documentation. Yeah. With the partnership, you can put together paper, but once again, under general corporate law, one partner could bind the other one. If they take out a loan, the partnership could be easily responsible. And that's kind of one of the biggest drawbacks. Usually with, like I already mentioned, partnerships, they can work where you have one LLC and another LLC because you have paperwork over here, and there's protection.
So when it all falls apart and something's like just completely destroyed, it's up in flames, what are the most likely causes of that? What are the variables when you're on the crime scene and you're looking at how did this happen? What are the pieces of evidence you see laying around?
Probably lack of financials and missing money, etc.
Like bad accounting or straight up like money being stolen?
Well, like I said, sometimes people's situations change, right? And they say, well, or someone feels that they're entitled to additional compensation because maybe they are working a little bit more, but that's not what was agreed to. So all that type of stuff, comes into play. And it's not, maybe they are entitled to it, but you got to be transparent about that up front. Like, hey, by the way, I'm putting in more hours, so let's put a little something in writing here or an email. I'm going to start paying myself this much more next month, and please respond in this email. Something, right? Because if you just start doing it on your own, then later on say, I never told you could do that. And then, or there could be other sides to it. Maybe if someone's in sales and there's jealousy of one person making more money than another person's, and all those types of things I've seen in the past.
Well, I wanted to make sure I ask you today too about, again, with the evolution of certain technologies and business services, I'm going to say the word LegalZoom because this is really what I'm referring to. I might as well just say what it is. Like a lot of times people just think, well, yeah, you just go on LegalZoom and fill it out and do it. And like you can set up an LLC in minutes. Like, and I know it's marketing and that's why they do that. And I know for the most part, people can kind of do some of those things on their own, but man, it's just, I've never had interest in that because I've always been in the position like there's things I don't know. And the things I know that I don't know, that because I don't know them, they might be the things that are most likely to hurt me. So what would your advice be to someone who's like, yeah, I'm just going to go on LegalZoom and start an S Corp? Why would you tell them not to do that?
Well, without naming any specific company that you're naming. So it's just that they will give you a decent package, okay? But you, as their client, also have to do a lot of stuff. They'll give you a lot of instructions. Basically some of the fill in the blank stuff after. And, people just don't do it. Apart from that, other people that do it, apart from, some service companies, even accountants do it or bookkeepers, etc. Some of them are better than others. I mean, and some of them do a really good job. But there are additional things with respect to, because you could just go file the articles and you're already a corporation. But there's everything behind it, right? The meeting minutes, the bylaws, the EIN number, following the S Corp election. Now we have this other report that potentially we have to do with the FinCEN and whatever. That's it. Hopefully it'll go away.
It's on us. It's not on us. It's back on us again.
Right.
We should probably talk about that. Do you have anything else to say about that company that I mentioned before we go to that?
No, but. On that point, yeah, it is inexpensive. I mean, relatively inexpensive. but follow the instructions. And there's one or two things that definitely I never see accountants or LegalZoom do, and that is usually probably file like for the stock exemption, for issuing shares, because even if you have one shareholder, technically you're supposed to file for an exemption through the Department of what's it called? Department of Financial Innovation Protection, DFPI, something like that. They keep changing it. So you're supposed to file for an exemption for your, issuing stocks, even if it's just like, your corporation or the corporation I have. I give it $2,000 to start the company. Then the company will give me stock of, whatever, 10,000 shares, and it's for that $2,000. And then you're supposed to file that exemption.
Yeah.
I never seen that. Never see that done by accountants or those other companies. And it might be a bit of a gray area, but obviously we want to err on the side of doing it correct.
Be on the side of caution.
Yeah, because if that comes up, 2-3 years from now, then hey, well, you didn't do this, and you want your everything done basically.
So have you been in situations where people have tried to do it on their own and then they come to you and they're like, I need to redo this? Can you unwind that or make amendments to that? If they had already started out the gate on their own and they did some things wrong, can you go make amendments to that with your help?
It depends on how soon. But yes, I mean, there's ways to recreate the corporate book, because who's to say that you didn't have a meeting, even if it's just yourself, right, in the shower or whatever, I'm gonna be president.
Talking to yourself, getting ready for the day.
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
I think that's what we should do.
Yeah, there you go. The point is, so in that sense, yeah, you can basically recreate the corporate book, and structure it in a certain way. But for instance, you need meeting minutes. You need initially formally to open up a bank account. I know people have friends or whatever, and maybe it's getting more strict, but I don't know how they would open up bank accounts without, having meeting minutes, et cetera, as long as you have maybe just the articles and EIN. But you need this stuff, and it's, apart from needing it like for the bank, it's all internal. So no one ever sees what's in your corporate book. Maybe when you need a loan or whatever, they want to see your meeting minutes. But you don't need it until either you get hit up with some sort of regulatory action or some sort of lawsuit. And then, that's not the time to be doing your corporate book. That's why it's easier just like anything else, just, don't fall behind. And
honestly, what I have learned, and this is totally me standing in support of promoting you and your service, is just go to Eddie first. Just do yourself a favor. Just talk to Eddie first. I understand all the reasons why you feel justified in going down other paths, but as I've advised many other people in the past, ask all the questions you need to ask, and Eddie will answer them. I don't know if that is also true for all these online services, but I know you're there to help people all the time. And again, your heart behind that is also the reason why so many people trust you. I want to quickly also talk about this, the shifting sand of this. What it's not, is it a law? Is it a rule? Is it a policy? What's its technical?
Corporate Transparency Act.
Okay, so it's an act.
Right.
All right.
So through Congress, I'll tell you what I do know. You have to file this through FinCEN, which before FinCEN was just about money service businesses that had to register there. So now they have another department, next to it. On the same website, they have the BOIR, which is Beneficial Ownership Information Report, BOIR, and you file that online. So it was supposed to go in effect. Well, yeah, it did go in effect January 1st, 2024, but you had to the end of the year to file your beneficial ownership report. That's for everybody that was before 2024. If you were a new company inside of 2024, you had to actually file it within 30 to 60 days. I forget what it was now. And I did quite a few of them. I mean, for the companies I did last year. But as the end of the year rolled around, the deadline, there was quite a few, one or two lawsuits that got presented, then some other follow-up lawsuits. All I know is it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. Right now, it is in some appeals court. I know that there is some of the cases are being appealed, some aren't. Yeah. But it's it's enjoined from being
Enforced. Right.
And right now, Vincent is saying, look, for now, you can voluntarily do it. So the question is, and the reality is, look, they're just asking for, like, if you're the only owner, for instance, it would be yourself and your wife.
Yeah.
The wife is included because you're in a community property state, even though I've always argued nowhere in any of the laws that I've seen or whatever does it say that you're supposed to include your spouse. But I do understand the argument that, well, she's a beneficial owner too.
Right. Doesn't it just come down to really what holds a higher weight in the final argument? Because, I mean, I understand reading it down to the letter of the law, right? So if the community property state overrules whatever the corporate, let's say, prioritization is, one's going to have to rule out the other one or overrule the other one, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the logic there. That would be it.
So okay. I want I brought this up because you had done a presentation about this back in 2024 because it's new for everybody. So it's like literally everyone who has a corporation, you need to fill out this form. And then of course it went to, oh no, you don't have to. And then, oh wait, now you are recommended to. So I'm glad that it's enjoined. That was the word you used?
Yeah.
So it's currently enjoined, at least at the date of this recording. What are they really trying to accomplish, in your opinion?
Well, as far as the law itself, I mean, the way they tout it is, to go ahead and root out money laundering, like who's really the owners. Because I guess there are a lot of phantom companies out there.
Can I ask you a question? Anyone who has the intention to money launder, why are they setting up a corporation? I don't understand that. What would they be doing? What was the purpose of that be? I'm not asking you to qualify that they should, but on its face value, I can't comprehend why someone would be like, I want to go in, I'm going to launder money. I should better set up a corporation first. That doesn't add up to me, but okay.
It doesn't, but maybe there's other, with all the new analytics, AI, whatever they have to be able to make connections here and there.
I just thought of something else. You would have to set up a corporation to operate in certain industries and businesses where you could probably execute some money laundering, where you'd have to actually be an entity. Okay, I think I thought through my question a little more thoroughly.
But even then, it's more. The fact is, how invasive is it? And
it seems to be what people's problem is.
Yeah, that's the issue. Not only that, but it's very confusing too. Like I just mentioned, the whole thing about the spouse. I said it doesn't say spouse here,
Right, but part of the whole thing about setting up a corporation or a legal entity is like, okay, so the entity is its own person, separate from me. But it's almost like being a personal guarantor, like you mentioned the loan earlier. It's like the company can have a loan, but if Andy becomes the personal guarantor, well, now Andy, the person, is also standing behind the loan that the company is signing off on. Well, in a similar fashion, the company could be doing something that's, whatever, nefarious or whatnot, but then there's a person who's essentially not personally guaranteeing necessarily, but who's saying, yeah, I am identified as a part of this. And certainly not sitting here advocating that you can hide behind your corporate shell and do nefarious things, but there's a lot of reasons why people set up entities, and one of them is for some sort of anonymity when it comes to having protection of your person versus your business in case someone sues your business and you haven't even done anything wrong. How many times have you heard that happen?
Well, to that point, the government supposedly has an answer because
sure.
No one's going to know.
Sure they do, Eddie.
No one's going to know. They said,
okay.
We're not going to tell anybody. We're going to keep this private.
Yeah, don't worry. The government's going to help you. No, there weren't 8 million Social Security numbers leaked.
We do have. I know this is not a political show, but we do have a new administration which might just throw this to the wayside.
Probably, but I'm just saying that party aside, when things get leaked out of the government, regardless of which side of the aisle it happens on, stuff gets leaked. Social Security numbers, people's personal data. It's like, and here we go again. There's another thing. It's like, and again, you mentioned technology a minute ago. It's like, yeah, technology in a lot of ways helps us, but in some ways it ends up being the epicenter of leaks and all sorts of stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I fill it out. Okay. I fill it out because I'm a good client.
So you've probably been on a couple of my emails, for the corporate transparency.
Yeah. I got one within 48 hours. Oh, hey, you don't have to do it. Oh wait, you got to do it.
Yes. No. Hey, hold on. But hopefully it'll be resolved by next month sometime. Hopefully.
Next month. So in March of 25, you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I want to I want to spend some time talking about like you. Is that okay? We can move on
Sure.
from some of the legal stuff because you know, I feel like every time you have a presentation, there's something in your bio that you share that like no one's ever heard still, and some of us have been there a long time. Some of the most memorable things are, and I guess I'll share like one of the most memorable things is, and it's because I did something after this. Is you had like said something no one knows about him is he knows how to like flip an egg in a skillet.
Mm-hmm.
So
wow, okay.
right, and so I was like, oh, Eddie flips eggs. I want to know how to flip an egg. So like after that point, this was like I don't know how many years ago. After that point, I just keep practicing flipping eggs, man. And so now when I'm like cooking eggs, it's just part of my little routine.
Yeah,
it's part of my routine,
it's
but
fun.
it's because of you.
Good.
So so for everyone who doesn't know this story, please tell the flipping eggs story.
Well, one of my first jobs was at it was called Sherry's in Sacramento. That's where I grew up. And Sherry's it's kind of like an upscale Denny's, right? So I started there as a busboy, then moved up to line cook, which basically all the chopping everything in the back. Then I was, ended up being on the line, actually being a line chef. And this was actually, I guess you could work, full, long hours back in the day. Cause I think, I think I was a senior in high school. Anyways, long hours.
Were there new labor protection rules? Is that, are you like slyly admitting you're way older than you look?
I'm talking about late 80s. So
late 80s.
Yep.
Late 80s. Eddie, hold on a second. Late 80s. I was still in elementary school.
Late 80s.
How much older than me are you?
I was born a month or two after man landed on the moon.
Are you serious?
Yep.
I didn't know that. I thought maybe we were only like 5 years apart. We're 10, how long? 69?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, 69, right?
Yep.
19? We're 10 years apart. I didn't know that. And I've been balder a lot longer. That's really disappointing. Catch up, man. All of us are waiting for you on this side of the fence. Or on this side of the
I'm holding on.
Yeah, you are. You're doing a good job. I should have said we're on this side of the hairline.
So, back to Sherry's. I mean, yeah, you've seen the movie, what is it called? Waiting?
Oh, yes, about being a server. Yeah, that movie's that's a rough
there's a lot of that stuff going on back then. So.
Oh no!
But that's going to be a whole nother show someday. But bottom
Eddie,
line is,
come on, you weren't messing with people's food.
No.
Because we already have like Michael Keith, like he can't tell us which restaurants he services for pest control, and I'm like, I want your list, dude. Like I always restaurants I love, and I hope none of them are on his do not go list.
Well, that was the part that you caught on to, the messing up with food. I'm more concentrating on other stuff that was going on with all the personnel and stuff.
Oh, jeez.
But it was fun. It was fun times. I mean, the other thing that correlates with that too, which I'll get back to the eggs, but I almost chopped off my 4 fingers.
Well, that's part of you told that once too.
Yeah, because I threw up one of those big saran wraps up on the wall, and it bounced back, and I just had. So.
You caught the box with your hand, or you tried to catch the box with your hand, and just.
That was my first workers' comp claim.
Your first? Hold on, are there more? There's more?
Well, it was my only one, but. So
it's okay. At this point in our friendship, I wouldn't be surprised if there is a litany behind it because you said my first. So.
Well, I just brought that up because of Ramses recently was on the.
So funny. Okay, so flipping eggs. So you're lining cooking. You're a line cook. And so was this just something you started doing?
No,
or
they literally taught you how to
do it. They show you how to do it.
Yeah, they give you a piece of toast and you just practice.
Yeah.
Eventually it's fairly easy to do. Obviously you need a good pan, right?
It's fairly easy to do. You hear that, everybody? So that means if you're not doing it, then you aren't doing something that's fairly easy to do.
It's fairly easy to do with the toast, right? And then you.
Well, it becomes easy with the egg. I will admit in front of everybody here, I've dropped several eggs in the process of learning, but now I got it down, dude. I've got it down. And I'll also tell you, you know what actually works is we had started cooking with tallow, and tallow has like such a high viscosity. It works even better than butter sometimes. The only thing you got to be careful of is if you have too much and you like do that flip and a little bit comes to your way, you're gonna get burned. So let's talk about your other jobs growing up. Like, what did you do? You obviously had your food service job. Was that your first job too? Did you say that and I just didn't hear you?
That was my first official job. Yeah.
Okay. Would you have an unofficial job before that?
Well, I used to spend a lot of summers down in Mexico.
Like you're doing illegal labor somewhere?
No,
Or what's up, buddy?
I mean, I used to spend summers down in Mexico because my dad, had operations down there and stuff. So in that sense, I did sell ice cream for a summer here and there and, just stuff like that. But basic stuff, so.
No, I got you, man. One of my first jobs in high school was I was like part-time working on weekends at a catering company. And like, I'm like this 15, 16-year-old kid. I didn't know any better. And like, they were always just paying us cash. Like they didn't even know my name and they're just paying me cash. And I didn't know any better. One day my parents were like, do they have your name on file anywhere? I was like, oh, no, why? Like, I didn't know. I was like some snot-nosed kid, too young to know, but they were paying me under the table for like months and months and months and probably doing that well before me and probably well after. And I don't even know that they're in business anymore. But anyhow, what other kinds of jobs did you have growing up?
Let's see, Sherry's, then moved on to just some clerical work with the state. If I was still living in Sacramento, I probably would be a state worker.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, doing what though?
Well, because there's just so many state jobs up there. So.
Yeah.
So
I get that part,
I
but
mean, I'm basically glad I moved down here in 1989.
1989, jeez.
1989.
So you were 20 when you moved down to San Diego.
Yep.
What brought you to San Diego?
Just school. I finished the first 2 years at Sac State and then came down to San Diego State.
Mm-hmm. So when did you officially open your law practice?
That was 2001. So
that was a banner year for America.
2001. Yeah, actually, it was March 2001.
Wow.
So law school was graduated San Diego State in 92. Took 3 years off. Well, actually, I worked in the finance industry, and then went back to law school. Graduated in 98. Worked for a middle-sized firm. That's where I did a bunch of litigation and did depositions. And then 2001, I went out on my own.
So what was something that from your childhood you look back at fondly? Like if you're just in the car by yourself or you just find yourself thinking about your past, like is there something that really stands out that you think about and reminisce and go, oh man, that was such an awesome time of life, or oh, that was a fun situation? Anything like that?
Seems like a long time ago. Let's see.
Well, Eddie, it is.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, I did spend a lot of summers down in Mexico. I mean, not too, it's about 3 hours south from here, Ensenada, and also another place called San Quintin. So there was, where I would spend a couple of months down there, like I said, during the summers. And interestingly, I probably should have been in San Diego a lot sooner. I mean, but for whatever reason, I always ended up back in Sacramento at the end of each summer. Even though on a couple of times during high school, I would tell my friends, hey, I'm not coming back next year. See you guys. And guess what? First day I'd be back. Hey,
like we told you, he's not going anywhere ever. He'll always be back.
That's on my parents.
Like that loyal dog gets kicked out and he keeps getting kicked out of the house. Keeps returning home, huh?
Yep. So yeah, obviously, just being able to run around out there and obviously have the ocean, bunch of different stuff going on. So. I'm just trying to think, like in Sacramento, what was up there? I always say about Sacramento. I mean, have you been to Sacramento?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hot. It's hot in the summer. It's cold in the winter.
Cold in the winter. Yeah.
As far as it's a good place to grow up, bring up a family. I mean, no question about it. It's not there's not as much diversity of things to do like there is here in San Diego, I think. But you have Lake Tahoe on one side, that's where I learned how to ski when I was probably like 16, and San Francisco, which is a big city on the other side. So,
well, you're kind of scratching the surface of something else. I was going to talk about your outdoor adventures here in a little bit. So I'll probably no, I'm going to come back to that because I want to make another question first about being a kid and all that. We'll come back to your outdoor adventures because I know snowboarding is a big part of that. The question I wanted to ask you is, when you're being raised, is there something, like as we get older, I tend to like harken back to things that were told to me or lessons that maybe my father or other family members or elders, I'll say, were trying to espouse to me as important to remember, that maybe at the time I didn't really give that much weight to. But now I look back and I go, oh man, that's so right. Like it was true then. It's still true now. I was just immature then. I didn't know that it would be so important now. Do you have anything that you were taught maybe as a young boy that now you go, wow, that's carried with me this like entire time?
Yeah, I mean, and I'll mention it this because I mean I do it all the time with my daughter. I mean, I enjoy the fact that even though I work full time, etc., and have a few different hats, I get to take her to school and everything. So I kind of get to catch up with her on what she's doing with school, etc. And usually pick her up. Not today, but usually, right? Because I'm here. But what I'm going to get at is, my dad was a very big proponent of education, and obviously getting ahead in life in that sense. Just with getting a good education and being focused on that. So one thing to add to that, I mean, we're 8 brothers and sisters. I'm right in the middle, so I'm a middle child, whatever that means. And
did you just say 8?
8, yeah. And there's 4 boys, 4 girls.
Wow.
So, going back to when we were a kid and everything, I just remember we always had like a station wagon and there were 8 of us in there.
Yes.
That type of stuff, Wow. And now we see that everybody running around or fighting with each other. I was kind of like I said, the middle child. So I think people did leave me alone because I just wouldn't bother anybody. So, but the reason I mentioned that is because going back to my dad is that, everyone has some sort of college degree. Everyone. So we were worried about a couple of them, but they got a college degree too. So.
Maybe we won't say names. So who is the oldest and who's the youngest? And what's the age between everybody?
I'm going to say she's probably, my oldest sister is probably close to 70.
I mean, here we are talking ages, sorry.
Well, there is a range there. I've done the math before. I think there's a range of about 26, 27 years in between.
Whoa.
Yeah, so,
really? Okay, so your oldest sibling is what? 15 years older than you?
Probably, yeah.
About, and then your youngest sibling is how far behind?
Probably
another 11 or 12?
Yeah.
Wow. So let's talk about your mom. Wow, your mom and dad. So there's 8 of you total?
Mm-hmm.
So you're number 4 or number 5?
4.
You're number 4, okay. Middle, I guess, my 4.5. So what did your dad do? What was his career? What was your mom's career? What did they do?
When he started here, when he moved to the States, probably in the 60s, he worked in like some canneries.
Oh.
Eventually, he ended up back in Mexico and had a restaurant and some other types of businesses. And
did your mom work, or was she taking care of the house and raising everybody?
She was pretty much raising everybody. I mean,
wow.
I got to give it to her because, for so many years, I mean, they both passed away. My dad passed away in 2008 and my mom in 2014. But, for all the years that, she lived, I mean, she was always taking care of us.
Man.
One thing that a lot of people don't know, I mean, some people do, but my mom did have a serious accident back in 2000. She was rendered quadriplegic. And for roughly 14 years, since there's so many of us, I mean, we figured out a way to take care of her.
I don't think I've ever heard that from you after all this time. I did not know she got in an accident, Eddie.
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, this was right around the millennial, 2000. So.
Wow. And so 14 years, she was quadriplegic.
Mm-hmm. So obviously that affects the family a lot, right? So.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. And I mean, did she have a? Gosh, oh my gosh! I didn't. Okay, so sometimes people say stuff on the show, and I'm like, okay, now I don't know what to do. Frozen, huh?
Well,
so okay, because your dad lived till 2008, so 8 of his last 8 years, she's in this state. And then were you guys all still helping at that time? Was your dad kind of just taking care of it all, or what that look like?
Well, we were all helping. I mean, but
okay.
And like I said, my dad did end up passing away. So, obviously there was more on the rest of us. And I'll give it to my oldest sister because she, a lot of my sisters. I'm not going to put more on.
I understand.
But, we just figured it out, how to take care of her. I mean, over those years. So.
And how was your mom in that season? Like, what does there's a variety of things that can happen to somebody when a major life event like that happens. They can become more grateful and thankful and, just make the most out of the rest of their life. Some people get bitter and they turn inward. How did she handle that?
Well, that's actually why I said, that's she always did try to help us out however she could, even in that state. So, she was always a positive person. That's the direction that life took.
Wow. Wow. So, man, I didn't know that. That's, you just don't, I don't know. I don't run into people where that's like part of their story at all. Or even their like going from being able-bodied to quadriplegic is something you like hear about. That happens somewhere else on the internet, or that happens to a friend's neighbor's friend at school or something like that. That's never seems to be so close.
I mean, like I said, it was a part of her life. I mean, I do remember, talking to my younger brother and sister, like, obviously I was older than them. I don't know how old I was then, but, just like, life's going to change, because the thing is that I'm not going to say completely dependent on her, but, whenever we did go over whatever, there's, she was those moms that had food ready, very welcoming to everybody, et cetera. So,
oh yeah. I mean, cooking for a family of 10, I mean, right. You're it's just like a flow state at some point. I mean, anyways, there's lots of people around me who have families of 8, 9, 10. Yeah. I mean, Ricky in our chapter, Ricky's, I think he has a family of 8 or 9 total siblings. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so even then she's just still trying to do everything she can to still.
Well, yeah, but in the sense of either, helping with, the younger kids, like, hey, what do you need or whatever, and having us help them,
yeah,
kind of directing it, right?
Sure.
But she was still alert, full mind, and
yeah,
I mean, you asked whether she became more grateful. I'm not going to say necessarily in any way grateful. I mean, she's grateful to still be alive,
right?
But I still think that, for better or for worse, she still saw a lot of times that there's all kinds of dynamics, with brothers and sisters and stuff. So she still saw herself as being able to help as far as leading us in a certain way.
Yeah.
Somehow or another. And you know what? As we still obviously respect her a lot. And we kind of, even by what she said, we had to oblige,
Do you talk about what happened? Like, what was this? Was it a car accident?
Yeah, it was a car accident. Yeah.
Man. Wow. Huh. What is it like when obviously you're talking about your mom, and I didn't know this was going to happen today. So welcome to part 2 of our show. What do you miss most about your mom?
Yeah, just her being there. I mean, because it was, it's definitely someone that was always there for no matter what. I mean, even during the last part of her life, we'd still get together like pretty much every Sunday. Most of us, or if not all of us, just to stay together as a family. We still get together once in a while. I mean, but it's not as frequent. So it's just the fact that somehow or another she was there, and still was the matriarch, especially after my dad passed away, that kind of leaded us in a certain way, and kept us still in line,
Keep everyone in line. I like that. I want to go back to our less serious topic. I did not expect that. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that vulnerability and just the honesty in that. I guess I also would not expect anything less from you, Eddie. But you talked about in Sacramento, you got Tahoe over there just east of you. I have family in Reno, and so Tahoe's right there. And so how young were you when you started hitting the mountain? Because I know you're a really good snowboarder, and you're probably not going to tell people. I'm not even sure who knows that you're a really good snowboarder, but you've been snowboarding a really long time, and you know what you're doing up there.
I don't know about a really good snowboarder, because I just went with my daughter and she put me to shame. So
that's what people who are really good say about what they do. Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't say that, but other people do.
And part of that is thanks to, a little bit more experience or being forced to go with, for instance, with Miguel recently, or in the past couple of years. And And
he's a little bit of an animal, though.
Yeah, and Bruno, I think he's told you that story too, or you've heard about it. Bruno.
No, wait, what?
We took Bruno. Remember Bruno, the paint?
Yeah, no, yeah.
So
I don't know the story about that though.
Miguel invited him and myself one year. This must have been 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And it turns out he was an instructor at Mammoth for I don't know how many years. Bruno.
Get out! Wait, what?
Bruno, yeah.
How did we not know that?
So, but he didn't tell us till like.
So you didn't even know.
So we got either we were on the road there.
What?
So he taught us, so
does he just go like carve the mountain like with ease?
Yeah, I mean, he showed us a few things to make it easier for us, right?
Oh my god!
So and I think it made a big difference as far as not getting your edge and flipping over a bunch of times.
Oh my gosh!
Just the way he kind of just said, well, hey, just take it nice and smooth, and he showed us how to do big turns and stuff like that. And
but Miguel's good too.
Yeah.
That's fun. I had no idea that Bruno knew he was an instructor at Mammoth.
Yeah, so he was I don't know what they call them, not a snow bunny, but whatever they call.
A snow. I'm hoping he wasn't a snow bunny, but
a snow bum. I think
snow bum. Yeah, the guy one is the snow bum.
Yeah. But going back to how I learned my brothers, my older brothers, when we were in Sacramento, did go up to Tahoe a few times, and eventually, probably when I was about 15 or so, took me out there, and the way they taught me was, okay, you're at the top of the mountain.
Get to the bottom.
Get to the bottom. So that was skiing, because that was, like I said, late 80s probably. So I don't think snowboarding was big back then.
So there's other things that you've talked about that have been said about you when you're getting your speaker introduction. They're giving your bio from the front of the room for your feature presentation, and there's always some unique things. Do you have another unique element to Eddie Macias that you want to share on this platform? I have other questions, but I wanted to give you a chance to pick from the goodie bag. Another one you might want to share. Is there one that stands out?
I'm just trying to remember, since you specifically mentioned that profile. Do you remember any?
Well, the one that stuck out to me the most was the flipping the eggs thing, because I'm like, I'm adopting that. I'm going to learn how to flip eggs. You've talked about snowboarding before. You've mentioned, I can't remember the exact situation, but you've mentioned unique situations or dangerous situations you've been in before, and I don't remember the context, and I don't know
dangerous situations.
I don't know all about that. But if not, that's okay. We can double back and catch that one at another time.
I don't know.
What's that?
I'm pretty cautious usually. You sure that was me?
Yeah. So okay, I wanted to ask you then about when you think about what lesson you're going to leave behind for your daughter. You're talking about education a minute ago. But what are some of the qualities you're trying to instill in her as a young lady? Because I have daughters, right? I have all 3 girls. But what are some qualities you're trying to, you and Jackie, you're trying to instill in her as core facets of, living an amazing life of, purpose?
I'm not too sure how much we've actually, obviously we try to show her the best, and how to be her best, and, focus, discipline, do good in school. But, she is, our daughter's, her own person. I mean, she does have a big drive she does great in school. She's got a big drive for sports and volleyball, which that takes up a lot of our time right now. She's on the travel team. I think she's, the drive she has, usually she comes out because, she's always pretty much plays up from where her age and stuff. So she's always in a, bigger group. I don't know how this happened, but, she's taken the lead on several of the teams. Next thing I know, and she doesn't even say it, but, we find out a week later she's team captain.
She's the captain? Yes, that's great.
So, and we've seen that consistently, so I think she's on a good path. I mean, obviously we still, she's a 14-year-old, so she still mouths off and I think she knows everything. But I do like her where she's headed.
Yeah,
no question about it.
What's one of your favorite activities to do as a family when you guys go out and do something? What do you just really thoroughly enjoy?
I mean, we do have a tradition of, pretty much every Sunday we do go out to dinner. Apart from I'm gonna say every Tuesday, but that's with the rest of the family. With my brothers and sisters.
Right.
Because my daughter has two cousins. She's the only kid, but she's got two cousins that are actually going to the same high school as her right now. One's below her, one's below. So they're pretty much her brother and sister. So we do have them 2-3 miles away, and then like I said, my sister and everybody else, we get together frequently on Tuesdays. Seems to be the day.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, between our little unit of a family, on Sundays we tend to do that dinner, or our own dinners. But we got quite a few travel dates too for volleyball and stuff like that. So those are all little events too. Those are all little, even though they're for volleyball, but we still try to take advantage. And whether it's having nice dinners or like we'll be in Orlando, right? So in June, so we'll probably do some Universal or Disney. So
is Jim Franco going there to Orlando too? I think he probably is.
You mean Jim Lowther?
Jim Lowther, yeah. If it's travel volleyball
I saw him there last year.
So probably yes.
Yeah. I didn't see him last year, but I think she's on a different team this year. Not only that, but different leagues and stuff, and then they have different times. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've definitely run into him. I think eventually next year his daughter and my daughter will be playing against each other, different rival schools. So,
okay.
Yeah, so
all right.
We'll report back.
A little cross friendship rivalry. I have so many other things I want to ask you. I'm gonna try to ask them as quickly as possible because I also want to honor and respect your time. So Ramses asked me this question, and I asked him if I could ask everyone else this question. So I'm now asking this question. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you had to swap jobs or swap industries with anyone else in BNI Partners in Excellence, what would you wake up every day and spend your time doing? And if it wasn't what you're doing, who in the room would you want to be in their role and classification if it wasn't you?
Classification, profession.
Yeah. What other job in our room would you want to have?
Would I still retain my memories? The reason I asked that is because the first thing that came to mind was Emmanuel in construction.
Tell me about that.
I don't know. I mean, obviously he builds stuff, right, in construction. But more, I'm thinking as far as, we haven't gotten to this, and I don't know if there'll be time, but I've told you I wear different hats. So, I have a few different businesses. But one thing I've definitely wanted to get into is, maybe building out some real estate or units or whatever, which obviously I can just hire Emmanuel. But
well, that's fair, because the question is, who would you want to be if you weren't you? And yeah, okay, so pretend you don't know him, you want to do that.
The point is, and also going back to what I do know is the legal side and how to build or structure potentially funds or whatever, or bring investors on board. But I do see that as a very big component of it. So
that's really cool.
Yeah. So Emmanuel, and then I guess secondly, if taking it along the same lines, John, with his private money.
John Lloyd.
So everything works together.
Yeah.
But definitely in that sector, as far as building building up real estate.
Yeah. What did you want to be when you grew up? Like when you were a kid, were you like, what was like your dream? Like, I want to be an astronaut. One of mine was like, I'm going to be a race car driver or a baseball player, right?
I did say this before on my profile. I think for my presentation, I wrote in 5th grade that I wanted to be a business corporate attorney. It was a 1-page document. I don't know what happened to it. I wish I knew, but I did write a paper. They send you to the library, like, go look at the books and what do you want to be? So that's what I wrote a 1-page paper on.
So what's funny about that is that this week that we're recording this, I had just attended the online international networking Zoom with the Australia and New Zealand people and some people in Tennessee. And one of the questions was, what did you want to be when you grew up? I'm like, that's one of my questions I will sometimes ask people. And this one guy, he's like, this might sound funny, guys, but when I was in elementary school, I told my teacher, I want to grow up and be a businessman. And he's like, and that's what I am now. I want to be a business owner. And he goes, so I'm living out the thing I had said as a kid. And, most kids have some other, thing. I'm going to be a pro this or this or that. And he's like, I'm going to own my own business. And here we go. There he is.
It wasn't a direct path, but that's what I wrote. And it was in the back of my mind. And, maybe it also had to do with, once in a while, reminders or whatever from the parents or, oh, remember you said this or whatever, but because like I mentioned, I went to San Diego State. I took 3 years off. I was working in finance because that was my undergraduate degree. Just wasn't feeling it after 2-3 years. And I said, I got to do something else. And went back and, got back into law school.
So, I want to kind of round this out with the last couple of questions that, I've been asking everybody this, and mostly the continuity of me asking the question has allowed a cool variety of answers to come out. But, if I handed you a microphone and you're standing in front of an audience of 100,000 people in the middle of an arena or a stadium or a coliseum, and you got to thank somebody, I know you'd probably want to thank 19 million people, but if you could thank somebody, who would you thank?
Even when you know that's coming, it's hard to answer sometimes. I had an uncle. He passed away when I was small too, Ruben. But he was, well, he did go to law school in Mexico, and I remember looking up to him a lot. I actually was going to say Bruce Lee because I remember. But because I remember he used to be heavily into martial arts. But I remember looking up to him. I think he passed away when I was actually in 5th grade, which was probably the same time that I wrote that paper, right? So maybe that has some correlation there. I mean, that he would, I just remember him, just his attitude towards life, he had that flair. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm not going to say he looked like Bruce Lee, but at least, he kind of acted like Bruce Lee, and I often saw him jumping around in the backyard without a shirt. But he was he was the first attorney of the family, as far as I know, wow. And that was back well, he passed away in 5th or 6th grade, from what I recall.
Wow.
So I do remember him, vividly, and like I said, just his attitude towards life, etc., is what I really remember, and it's stuck with me for the longest time.
Wow.
And maybe that has a lot to do with who I am today,
Mm-hmm.
And Bruce Lee too.
And Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Like yeah, him embodying Bruce Lee in the backyard with his shirt off. That's that's awesome. But the first attorney in your family.
Yep.
Wow, charting a course of success for generations, huh?
Yep. Because I think after him there was another aunt that also became an attorney, but like I said, I do have very fond memories of him.
That's awesome. So, dead or alive, if you could have a meal with somebody, who would it be with?
I already said Bruce Lee, so. But he'll be a close second for sure. Why is this one even harder? The only other thing, person I think that, and it does relate to Bruce Lee, by the way. But the Dalai Lama, I mean, just I think that they have a lot of at least the basic things as far as attitude towards life, the connectedness, and what I'm saying is that Bruce Lee, like I said, from some of the quotes I've seen about him and some of the things I've seen the Dalai Lama say, would be interesting.
What would you want to talk about?
I don't know. Well, actually, you know what? Nothing. It might just be just looking at
what
each
a profound answer. Oh my gosh,
it might be nothing.
Just sit there. Just sit there.
Smile.
Take in the moment and just be present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. That's wonderful that you said that. Did I forget to ask you anything that you wanted me to ask you? I mean, I can sit here and ask you questions all day long. There's so many more things I want to ask you, but
no, I mean nothing specific. But
nothing specific.
This is definitely great. I mean, it's definitely out of my element.
Yeah.
I'm a little more low tech as far as my my business, even though I am trying to, get a little bit more into, all this AI stuff and seeing how that could help, because I know it's coming.
Man, it's coming after everybody. It's like Pac-Man, just jump. It's just chomping through everything right now. So I wanted to make sure before I run to our conclusion here, I need to personally thank you. A lot of people who have been around long enough, they've heard me talk about, you helped me set up 9010 brand. I had a partner at 9010 brand. I had to close 9010 brand and you were there with me for every single step of that. And I am so grateful for you, Eddie, for helping me and ensuring that everything that I was doing inside my corporate structure was going to allow me to serve the outcomes and the benefits of the business I was building. So I want to personally thank you from the bottom of the heart. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
And, and I've shared this when I talk about my bankruptcy story and Jason Turner having my back and, Miguel helping get me off my feet back again when I was in the trenches and feeling terrible about myself and just needing to get back, dust myself off and get started again. One of the things that is kind of practical on the surface, but was an important closure point for me is when we dissolved 9010 brand. And I don't know that I really have said it to you that way. And I don't mean to over dramatize it, but it really was the the closing of an official chapter in my life, and I did not take it well at first, but you were so helpful in making sure that there wouldn't be things left that were going to come back and chase me down and haunt me any more than I was self-haunting myself because it failed or I thought it failed. So I just wanted you to know how grateful I am for that. I mean, you'll probably sit there and say, I was just doing my job, Andy. I'm supposed to do this as your business attorney. But to me, it meant a lot, and I'm just so thankful. So I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that.
And now you've helped me start this. So you've helped me create Cruise Productions and get that all solidified and set up and ready. And I am so glad to always have you in my corner. And I have a great sense of confidence about the stories we hear about people who have a problem or something arises and they don't necessarily have all their T's crossed and their I's dotted. And I'm like, I'm good. I got Eddie. Eddie's got me. So thank you for helping me be confident in all the things I do inside my corporation too.
Oh, sure. I mean, that's, well, you're welcome. We are due to check your minutes.
Hey, it's in April. Okay. I checked the other day. It's in April. And we have plenty of time still. I will make sure I do the minutes. And we'll meet with me and my wife, and we'll do our minutes, and I'll send them to you. Gosh, can you believe that? I'm getting razzed on the show, checked on the show, counted on the show, responsibility on the show. Eddie, I'm so grateful for you to come in and do this. Thank you. I know you did give up that time of going to get your daughter after school today. Thank you for coming into the studio and sharing your story with us. I know there's a lot more to come. I'm also very much looking forward to this show kind of pivoting. We're right at the apex of it actually becoming the members show. And it's not just me talking with you. So I'm very curious to see who you're going to sit here with and maybe you're interviewing or who else is going to be interviewing you and what kind of conversation y'all are going to have. So I'm very much looking forward to that. Any final thoughts before I sign us out?
I mean, I definitely like that evolution of the show. I mean, or that vision. So.
Oh, yeah. This show needs a lot less than me. And with that, if you'd like to come and network with Eddie and I down at BNI Partners in Excellence, we are down at the Chula Vista Golf Course every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Open networking starts at 6:45 a.m. You can see us at 4475 Bonita Road in Chula Vista. No, not Chula Vista. It's called the Chula Vista Golf Course, 4475 Bonita Road in Bonita. That's right, the Chula Vista Golf Course in Bonita. So you can click the link in the description box below or the QR code in our profile to register yourself as a guest at an upcoming meeting. Eddie, thank you so much for coming on to the BNI Partners in Excellence show. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again with another great guest next week.